I can't help it that I look good, smell good, can dance all night long. You've been talking to the apes and the giraffes and chimpanzees again, haven't you? Yes, I'm excited!
Intro. What a great intro. I love that. I like coming down here just to hear that intro. That's the whole thing.
Get you going.
It really does get you fired up there. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Fast Freddie Rocks Youngstown. Here with Joe Danier, coming to you live and direct from the state-of-the-art Youngstown Studios in beautiful downtown Youngstown, Ohio. As you can see today, I found my cleanest dirty bandana and my best looking Miller High Life shirt. And I'm ready to go, man. Sharp dressed man here today. So what's happening? We haven't done a podcast here in a couple weeks, so I'm sure we got a lot of stuff to cover here today. You know, talk a little bit about
a perfect drink for you.
Oh, thank you. Boy, that's a big one, huh? That's what she said. What do we have here? Weller's.
That is a Weller Green Label.
Okay.
That is a well-respected brand.
I think my cousin had posted he bought a bottle of Weller's something 112. I don't know what that means, but we got to get Dr. Sue back on at some point.
100%.
If we really want to talk bourbon. I could use a little alcohol today, man. I really could.
Soak it up, man.
Okay, here we go. And of course, our glasses are courtesy of our buddy Jim Minosky, who was the White House chef. And these glasses come from the Navy mess at the White House. And we salute all our veterans all the time when we do this to start off the show.
That's a triple.
I was going to say, that looks like a pretty big one there, man. Whoa. We only have like an hour here. You know?
Slow sip it, like really take it in.
Okay. Anywho.
Goes down nice.
Yummy. That is good. That is good. Now we need the cigar. That's the thing.
That's next.
So anyways, had a nice weekend. I think it seemed like everybody was having a nice family weekend this weekend.
Easter?
And, just for, I went down to see the Guardians play the Pirates.
Nice.
And that was a lot of fun, especially since the Guardians hammered them 3 games. And I'll tell you, Buccos fans are sad. They're pissed. And I like to see that as a Cleveland fan. I like to see Pittsburgh sports fans suffer. It makes me feel good. And although I got to tell you, I've been a Buccos fan all my life. Ever since I was a little kid, we always used to go to the Buccos games. Forbes Field, Roberto Clemente, saw all those great guys from the National League, Steve Carlton, Bob Gibson, all that kind of stuff. And I would like to see the Buccos do good. And, I never really had that separation of, because baseball, the Indians never played the Pirates, 2 different leagues and everything. But the real true Cleveland fan is you hate everything Pittsburgh, bottom line. There shouldn't be that, I kind of like Sidney Crosby. No, the real, but I think we live close enough where we kind of have that little bit of leeway here because we're so close. It overlaps. But with that being said, if you are a true Browns Steelers hater, it's got to be everything. It's got to be everything about the city of Pittsburgh that you hate. There's no redeeming qualities whatsoever if you're a true diehard fan, and that's those are just the rules. And sometimes I bend the rules a little bit on that.
Well, Detroit Tigers, you're allowed to hate them because they're Michigan.
Definitely. Right. Oh yeah, Detroit Tigers. I hate every Michigan team. I hate the Detroit Tigers. I hate the team from up north. But it's crazy. I like the bands from Detroit. They have so much talent in Detroit. I still find that amazing. I always thought that if the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame wasn't in Cleveland, Detroit would have been a good place to put it.
For sure.
Just with Motown alone, just the fact that was the home of Motown and Stevie Wonder and the Temptations and the Supremes.
It would make sense.
And then you look at all the other people that they have from out there, Mitch Ryder, Iggy Pop, Alice Cooper really gained a lot of popularity there. Bob Seger, Ted Nugent, Jack White from the White Stripes, Madonna, Kid Rock, Eminem, that's just scratching the surface. That's off the top of my.
Well, who would
brain.
your third pick be? Would it be like Seattle?
My third pick would I got a tie for third.
Okay.
If it's in the United States, probably Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco.
Okay.
With all the Summer of Love, Grateful Dead, Santana. I think that was just that hotbed of counterculture. I think when you look back at the Grateful Dead and Janis Joplin and the Fillmore West and the Winterland Ballroom and the Grateful Dead and Janis Joplin and Santana and just that whole, Crosby, Stills, Nash and what the heck's the name of the valley, where they all lived. They had a big special about that. I can't believe I can't think of that right now. San Fernando Valley, maybe, I want to say. That could be. Or Malibu and all that kind of stuff. And, just that whole West Coast sound. So that would be my third choice.
And if you include Europe?
Yes, if I include Europe, it's a no-brainer. Birmingham, England is the absolute no-brainer. Their rock history in that town is crazy. Okay, it's the hometown of Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath. It's the hometown of Judas Priest. It's the hometown of the Moody Blues. It's the hometown of Steve Winwood. It's the town where Robert Plant and Jimmy Page started hanging out together to form Led Zeppelin. It's the home of the Moody Blues. It's the home of Duran Duran, ELO. And once again, those are just a few off the top of my head. So I think any city that would produce that much would also have to be, in the running. And it's kind of like a Cleveland, blue collar, as former industrial town that rusted away. And so there's a lot of similarities to Cleveland. But Cleveland made sense because Cleveland was the home of the first rock concert ever put together by Ellen Freed, DJ from Salem, Ohio. He's also the guy that coined the term rock and roll. So the guy that coined the term rock and roll is from Salem, Ohio. Was one of the biggest DJs of all time. Kind of got caught up at the payola stuff at that time and ruined his career. And I think he kind of got set up a little bit. I think they could have cut him a little bit of slack, but they didn't. And
tell us what payola is.
What's that?
What is payola?
Payola was back in the day. Boy, this is why one of the reasons I thought I'd get into the radio business is because, payola and Wild Women, pretty much it would be the record companies would come to the DJ and say, hey, listen, buddy, pal, I got this great record here for you. Oh, look, there's $100 bill in the record sleeve.
Just for you.
Yeah, how did that get in there?
I'll play that record for sure.
Yeah, right. And so that's how all that went down. And, he got caught up in that. And once he got caught up in that, he started drinking pretty heavily. And that was kind of like he died at a young age, like 42, 43. And, but boy, I'll tell you, he really had it going on there. But to think, when you're sitting in that 570 studio, you are on the same airwaves, you are on the same frequency that Ellen Freed was once on. When you look at the TV studio on South Avenue and where the radio station used to be, Ellen Freed, the guy that coined the term rock and roll, walked into that building every day.
That's
right
cool.
on Midlothian and South Avenue.
Cool.
I
feel not worthy.
Yeah, really. When you think about it, that's why I was so happy when I was on 570, because I would always think, I go, man, this is the same frequency that Ellen Freed broadcast on. The man that invented rock and roll, the guy that put on the first rock and roll concert. And it ended after about 10 minutes because it was a riot. And you know what's crazy about this whole thing too? The audience at that show was predominantly black. And now that's when you get into this debate too about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, who should be in, who should be in, who shouldn't be in, and why do rappers fit in and stuff. Well, when you look back at the beginning of rock and roll, I mean, there was a lot of black artists back then, with the 50s, with Fats Domino and people like that, and how it crossed over from the blues. But I think I draw the line when it got to rap, when it turned into something completely different. But there are some music scholars out there that want to debate, oh, no. See that, that's what really Muddy Waters brought to the table, and these guys are continuing on, or this is what Motown was, and they just took it to the next level, and this is where it evolved.
As soon as they stop playing instruments, that's when it deviates.
Yes, that's what I say. Yep. That's what I say. I still think, when you look at rock and roll, hey, do the Supremes belong in there? Absolutely. At that time, it was the rock and roll,
Yep.
And I think once it got off into rap, I think rap is something completely different. Eddie Kunzer checking in. You like that T-shirt, Eddie? I wore it just for you, man. And yeah, Dave Price said, don't forget that, when you worked at 570, you're also on the same airwaves, the same frequency that the Trapper used to broadcast on.
Favorite.
Oh, remember him?
The best.
Remember him? Oh, the Trapper. He used to give the friendly Trapper. He used to give this advice on how to deal with just about anything. Homespun remedies. Actually, today he could probably be RFK Jr.'s assistant. He might be one step above RFK. I remember the one time he was talking and he was on there, and the engineer at the time was also like a volunteer fireman. And the Trapper was talking something about, it started with crickets chirping and it got to the smoke detectors chirping. Oh. And his advice was to just take the batteries out of the smoke detector.
100%. Like, that's good advice.
And then another time, he had this thing that if you had foot pain, that you should put Palmolive soap in your socks. Okay? There's something in Palmolive soap.
Think of how many people followed his advice.
They did, and then the next week they get the call and said, it was all wet and mushy in my socks. Is there a way to do it? And then the guy goes, no, you're supposed to use the bar soap.
Oh, dude, you didn't say. I got a groundhog in my backyard. This was actual. Put a pipe on the exhaust of your car, put it in the hole, and smoke that sucker out of your backyard. 100%.
We used to have a bit called the Unfriendly Trapper, and he was like this veteran Navy SEAL Rambo type guy, and his thing was always use a flamethrower,
yes.
Toss a grenade down there. What, you have a hornet's nest on the top of your house? A grenade. Here's a very simple thing, Back in the day when we had Charlie pinned down, meaner than a hornet's nest, here's what we would do. Good old-fashioned grenade.
Right grenade, get rid of them in 2 seconds. The best.
Yeah. Well, caller, first thing I think you need to do is get yourself a flamethrower. A big one.
The hardware store sells flamethrowers.
And they do now, too. You can buy them. Well, we did that show that one day about the dogs, the robot dogs for military with
yes.
the robot dogs with a flamethrower attached to them.
What can go wrong?
And what was another one that he had on there? Let's see. Hey, Joe Minnow's checking in. My buddy Joe Minnow from Wilson High School. What's up, Joe? Always good to hear from you. Hope to see you out there this summer. And our buddy Dave is listening in Austin, Texas. He's on vacation, visiting his daughter down in Austin, Texas.
Nice.
So he had a nice time. Dave is getting pumped for Sturgis, and I'm hoping I'm going to be able to go, but
do it, man.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. You need days off.
I was hoping for a Daytona wet T-shirt contest, and I didn't see anything on my feed.
No. Now that I got this grandbaby and my mom, I got to use my days off for family stuff. Not wet T-shirt contest and Titty Tuesday out in Beaumont, Montana, or something where these guys go, and
your
Topless Tuesday.
Your choices make us suffer.
I know. Well, it is tough. Think about me. Let's think about me here for a minute. I gotta go see my baby grandson. I can't go to Daytona.
Mm-hmm. Sacrifices.
Yeah, really. It's tough like that. But yeah. I miss Daytona. I want to go to Sturgis in the worst way. Daytona may be in October. October, I like it a little better down there. They do an October bike week too, and the weather seems to be warmer, and it's less crowded, but it's still crowded enough that you have a good time. There's two ways you could look at that. Sometimes a crowd is like, oh, I don't want to go there. It's too crowded. But other times it's the crowd that makes it fun.
Mm-hmm.
You go down there and you're like, man, this place was so crowded. It was crazy. Another time you're like, oh, I ain't going back there, man. It was
parking was terrible and getting a drink was terrible.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Topless Tuesday at Alazda, Montana. That's where our buddy Sap Dog tipped one lady $1 on Topless Tuesday, and I've never let him forget, the cheap bastard, cheapskate. I've never let him forget about it. I started calling him 50 cent. I go, what? Is 50 cents a titty? Was that what you tip? I said, I don't think they want you coming back there this year. Well, at least he tipped though. Usually he looks over everybody's shoulders and. All right, is that us? We're back on the air, ready to rock. Sorry about that. All right, we got it. We got it. All right, Fast Freddie back with Joe Danier here at the state of the art Youngstown Studio loses internet connection once in a while. Yep. I think our buddy Sap Dog probably snipped a wire or something.
Sabotage. For
when
sure.
we're talking about his adventures at Topless Tuesday during Sturgis Bike Week.
Like you told about 50 Cent story?
Yeah, right. So yeah, he might have snipped one right there. Yeah, he even got a patch that says that. But I tell you, yeah, I got to get out there. I really do. I need to do something really fun. I haven't done anything like really fun, been on an adventure in ages, and it's killing me. And now we're going to be starting bike weekend, bike nights and everything coming up here in a few weeks. Our first bike week. That's a combination of bike week and bike night. Our first bike week.
It's a new thing.
Yeah, it's a brand new thing. It's like bike week and bike night all wrapped up into one. But our first bike night is going to be at Quaker Steak and Lube first Thursday in May. So that's going to be here before you know it. A couple weeks. It's like, how did we get to May already? And the bad part about that is when September or October rolls around, it'll be like, remember we were sitting here talking about how bike nights were going to start in a couple of weeks. And then we look around and we go, where the hell did that 5 months go to like that, So hopefully, we're going to be at the Lube in Austin Town. We're going to have a lot more bands this year. We are going to be doing a dice roll for a new Harley Davidson. So that'll be cool. So, we're going to kick up our game here this year. COVID really knocked us off. I think we're finally getting back on track after COVID. And I think a lot of places are. I think the things that have gone by the wayside now are just gone by the wayside. It's just the way it is, And I know we've talked about this before. Friday night, Saturday night, 6 to 11 is usually like prime party time, and that's it. All us old farts, we reminisce about starting at 10, not going out until 12 midnight, and kicking everybody out of the bar at 2:30, and then going out to breakfast, going out to Denny's or wherever, Splendid back in the day, getting a shot of whiskey and a coffee cup at 4:00 in the morning.
Dang, that's late.
Fred's New Life over in Uptown. That used to be another late night spot. And
do they cater to late night people like Denny's and the late night?
Yeah, they still do. From what I understand, I'm not really out that late anymore.
Taco Bell and Denny's. Those are friends.
And where the kids go, the younger folks go, or even myself too. What's big for after hours now? Sheets.
Really?
Everybody goes to Sheets. You go to Sheets at if you're out, you're a real night owl, and maybe you're out 12:30, 1:00. A lot of people go to Sheets. Sheet seems to be the jamming spot.
I don't know. That sucks, man. It needs to be a restaurant of some kind.
Well, I'm sure a few of those places are open. There's I'm sure Denny's and I don't know what else. Perkins, is Perkins still open late? That used to be.
I don't think there's a single Perkins around here. Is there?
Yeah, there's two of them that I know of. There's one. Oh yeah, there's one in Niles.
Yeah.
There's one on Elm Road out by the Harley shop, and then there's one on in Austin Town, right over by the Lube.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but remember that used to be another place that used to always be jamming. 2:00, 2:30. I remember we would play at like the Powerhouse over in Warren, and 2:30. The first thing you're doing is getting breakfast over at Denny's, or not Denny's, Perkins. And there was a line to get in. I always felt so bad for those servers. To deal to a bunch of drunk dudes. Yes.
Passed out at the table, eating
nachos. Their bills. Yeah, making a mess. Tracy Randall says La Villa is open late too on the weekend.
All right.
Okay. They got good food there too. Excellent pizza. My brother Greek checking in. Paul Mavrikis, what's up, man? He still says I got to get to Santa Cruz and just chill. That's on my list. As a matter of fact, I was telling somebody that yesterday. I said, my buddy Greek is down there in California, San Diego, Santa Cruz. And he says, I got to get my ass down there. But this damn work.
It's getting in the way.
I know it is. And if things weren't going so good, I maybe would say, forget it. Time to go. I got to go see Greek down in, San Diego. I got to get the Sturgis. I got stuff I got to do. And, I'm not getting it done. Man. And I ain't getting any younger. That's the thing, man. Boy, that clock is ticking. The clock is just ticking away. Joe and Espresso, you know it, Dave. Hey, I think Dave sent me a message that they are having a walkthrough at Idora Park coming up. Shoot the info on that, Dave. Dave is like one of the foremost experts on Idora Park.
Yes,
he really knows a lot. And I know he sent me a message, and I don't have it right in front of me, but yeah, they're doing a big walkthrough at Idora Park. You didn't no sounder for Idora Park?
I don't. Well, there we go. There we go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And what was the main band that ruled Idora Park for 15 years?
What is it? What's the name?
Left and and who was the main host, the main DJ of all the activities at Hot Day? Boots Bell.
There you go.
Yeah, we got a bunch of them in there. And then, a lot of the bands, after they played at Hot Day, they played at the Tomorrow Club. Those are the main things that we cover on this show. In case if you're a new listener, a new viewer, those are some of the main things that we talk about that deserve a little sounder as they because they hold such a special place in our heart. Left End, the Tomorrow Club, Boots Bell, Idora Park. What am I missing? Michael Stanley Band. We always throw the Michael Stanley Band in there. You got those bases covered. You got Youngstown down,
100%.
buddy. That's all you need to really know.
So my son and I went running along the river down to Mill Creek Park, and we jumped the fence down at Idora Park, and I wanted to kind of show him the place. So I was probably breaking the law.
Yeah.
Right?
Breaking the law. I love that tune. We just gave away tickets. Alice Cooper and Judas Priest are coming to Star Lake October 1st.
Nice.
But Breaking the Law. That always makes me think of Beavis and Butthead. Remember?
Yes.
Breaking the law. Breaking the law.
Total rock.
I think that's my favorite Judas Priest song. Breaking the law.
So if I go with Dave, then he'll actually let me in there legally. So I can
I guess with something. I'm really not sure. But with him, I don't know.
Maybe he's breaking the law. I don't know.
You get in legally, maybe you don't. But yeah, Idora Park just brings back so many fond memories to so many people. You know what worries me, though, about that? We talk about Idora Park and things like this. You've got to be almost 60 years old to remember Idora Park now. I'm looking at... This is my whole thing. This getting old thing is getting old. Let me put it to you that way. This getting old thing is getting old. Sometimes people call us up and they'll go, you know what you got to do, man? You got to bring back the 4 o'clock high from the Wizard. And then I'm thinking, okay, if you remember the 4 o'clock high from the Wizard, you're pushing 70.
Yes.
The Wizard went off the air in 1984. So say you were 15, 16, listening to the Wizard in 1984, 84, 94, 04, 14. We're talking, what, 30, 40 years?
Right.
40 years. We're talking 40 years that's been gone. If you were 15 when you were listening to that, you're almost 60.
But you would bring them back to the format if you only offered that.
Not that there's nothing against it. Not that I'm, a fan of that. But like I say, I now, sometimes I look at these, because with radio and stuff, you're always demographics, man. You're always like demographics, this group, that group, these guys, that guy. And so you look at that and you're thinking, if somebody was born in the year 2000, which I still think it's the year 2000 to me. Once we hit 2000, it's been 2000 since the millennium.
Not 25 years
right.
since.
You look at somebody born in 2000, they're 25 years old now.
Yep.
I'm looking at my son the other day, I'm going, 26 years old? How could you be 26 years old? Well, I was born in 1999. That's why. I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, that was 10 years ago, the 99s, 1990s. And then the 2000s, so we've covered what? Since 1990, we've covered what? 10 years? And from 1990 to 2000. So that's 10. In my brain, that's a 10-year span.
For sure.
Yeah. So
I interviewed a guy today. He came in with a white button-down shirt with a tie.
Yeah.
And he had an Iron Maiden shirt underneath that you can clearly see Iron Maiden through the top of the shirt. And I was like, dude, that's freaking awesome. Like, are you a fan of Iron Maiden? And he was like, no, I just kind of like nostalgic rock.
Crazy, man. It's Eddie. It's Eddie with a lightning bolt. It's Eddie with a machine gun or something. Hatchet,
But I gave him extra points for Iron Maiden.
Yeah. It's crazy on how that goes. Hey, hi, Barb. How are you? Thanks for checking in. Tell Tiff we said hi as well. Okay, so anyways, Dave Price, click that. Let's see what he's talking about there. If we can get that.
No,
because they got but they do, you know what? Let me look it up on mine. I'll just look it up on that. And
probably the details of the walkthrough.
Yeah, I would imagine. Boy, you are sharp.
Totally sharp.
You know what? We were talking about that there's going to be a walkthrough.
Yes.
And Dave posted something, and you deduced that it could be the walkthrough info. Guys, that's why this show is so big. That's why this show is off the charts.
100%.
That's why people tune into this, because I don't really know why.
All right. Well, I'm gonna find it.
Okay. Oh, you're looking for it?
Yeah.
Okay. Dave Price. Idora Park expert extraordinaire. Yeah, I think we're coming up on the anniversary of the fire of Idora Park too, aren't we?
That'd be sad.
Yeah, I think it's coming up pretty soon. Why can't I find Dave Price? Or is he David?
He is
he's
definitely
David. Yeah, he's David. All right. Anyways. Yeah, 1970s. Wow.
All right. There it is right there for you.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see. The 41st anniversary of the fire at Idora Park is approaching. Wait, where's about the walkthrough though? That's too much reading.
Yeah.
Okay. April 26th is the anniversary of the fire at Idora Park. What a sad day that was for everybody. Okay. I'm okay with that. I'll take responsibility for trespassing as the organizer. I guess, are they doing it on the day then? Dave, you got too much stuff for me to read. Okay, here's the plan. We meet at 3:00 on Saturday, April 26th at the overflow parking lot near Latterman Mills. Mills on Wheels. Hills on Wheels. All right, so Saturday the 26th, this Saturday, 3:00, and you meet over at the overflow parking lot by Latterman Mills. That place just brings back so many great memories. That's the thing. You never went to Idora Park and had a bad day.
No.
You never come back from there and said, oh, man, I went to Idora Park today. That sucked. All right, Dave says yes. This Saturday, 3:00, overflow parking lot by Latterman Mills in Mill Creek Park, and they're going to do a walkthrough at Idora Park, which is going to bring back so many memories. All right, Apocalyptic Lovers, Fast Freddie, are you going to AC/DC in the Berg? I hope so, but Cleveland for sure. I want to go to both, but I'm going to try to make both, and we'll see what happens there. That's going to be a good show. AC/DC. BJ Lisco will be there. I bet he's going to both shows.
100%.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I can't wait for AC/DC. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking forward to. AC/DC is one of my highlights this summer. Last year was the Rolling Stones, and they lived up to all expectations. And I know AC/DC is going to rock the house. It's just going to be a party. I'm not even worried about it. Some people, But let's see, what are some other good concerts coming up that I'm kind of thinking about? Let's see. We got, for classic rock, I'll tell you, classic rock is a little slow this year. Oh, the first one I do want to talk about, Lita Ford and the Vindies at the Youngstown Foundation Amphitheater for the Rich Center for Autism, and that's coming up at the end of this month, end of May, and that's going to be a good one. I'm really looking forward to that. Let's see, Dave Matthews Band coming around. Donny Osmond is on tour, and so is Wayne Newton. How old is Wayne Newton? Wayne Newton has got to be 100 years old or close to it. Donny Osmond, he's my age. I can remember, you know what? I remember I have this intense hatred for Donny Osmond from the first time I seen him. And I think this is the first time my mom ever really made me jealous or that I was aware of it. The Osmond brothers used to be a regular on the Andy Williams show. And they come out and they do this little barbershop quartet number. And they had them little round straw hats, and they had their little vests on with the garter on their wrist and all that kind of stuff. And my mom was going, look at that little boy. He is just so cute. Isn't that the cutest little boy in the world? And here I was all this time thinking I was the cutest little boy in the world. Now all of a sudden this idiot on TV is taking my place. He's taking my slot.
What the
Boy,
heck?
I'll tell you what, I was pissed about that. I that's one of the earliest memories. I had to be about 4 or 5 years old. And there's Donnie Osmond with Andy Williams. You know what? It's crazy when I look at some of the names of these people, and I don't have a clue who any of these people are. Black Country, New Road. Black Keys, I know. Bright Eyes. I actually saw Bright Eyes years ago. We're just looking at the concert calendar. If you can't see what we're doing, we're just scanning down. Charlie XCX. Do you know Charlie XCX? Do you have a clue? Citrus Dux. You know who that is?
Nope.
Dead and Company. I know Dead and Company. I'd love to go see Dead and Company again.
Rick Springfield.
Yeah, Rick Springfield, that 80s tour. That's coming to the Youngstown Amphitheater. That's going to be a good one. Rick Springfield, John Waite from the Babies, Paul Young, and Wang Chung. Everybody Wang Chung tonight. So what are people doing now that used to Wang Chung tonight? Now what have they moved on to? Is there a
there isn't?
You know, I was thinking about that the other day too, with getting jiggy with it. You know, I mean, did people just say, that's it, I'm done getting jiggy with it? And where did they go? Like what replaced getting jiggy with it?
They're sitting there idle as can be.
You know, and then, you know, before, hey, I'm getting jiggy with it. And now it's like, you never hear anybody, hey, what do you do? I'm just getting jiggy with it. You know, and then you would have to say, what? Remember, what happened to people? You say, what? You know, and, you know, hey, I'm getting jiggy with it. What else we got here? I'll tell you what, Postmodern Jukebox is really, really good. They're really different. They do like pop songs, kind of like big bandish. And they'll do like Pour Some Sugar on Me, and it's kind of, they are really good. They take pop music and they do some crazy stuff with it, and they are all so talented. That is a fun one. It's it's off the beaten path. It's not like, oh yeah, I got to go see that, but you would not be disappointed. Okay, wait, go back up. Let's see who else we have here. Happy Together Tour. I think that's the Turtles, maybe Paul Revere and the Raiders, a couple other people on that. Damian McGinty. Are you familiar with Damian McGinty?
Nope.
All right. How about Dispatch with John Butler? Now, Morgan Wallen. I've heard of Morgan Wallen. He's like the hottest guy out there. Was that the guy that threw the chair off the roof of the bar in Nashville? Hit jelly roll, bounced right back up to the top. Isn't that guy?
Don't know, but that sounds interesting.
And how about Betty Who? You a fan of Betty Who? Cute. Yeah, you know what? I was looking at the concert calendar today, and I'm sitting there thinking, I am so far out of it. Sandra Miller today said, oh, man, I got these tickets I got to give up for somebody. And she goes, I wanted to go, but I have to take my daughter. They're going to Wrigley Field to see this other K-pop group. And I'm just sitting there going, you are way beyond me. I haven't totally a clue as to what you're talking about. I am totally clueless. If it's not Left End, Michael Stanley, Hot Day at Idor Park, you know, I am Nowheresville, man. Yeah. Are people still in Nowheresville? How about that one? Nowheresville? Man, that's Nowheresville.
BNL, like it's been a while, but I've seen BNL a bunch of times.
Bare Naked Ladies, I think everybody remembers them, and Sugar Ray and Fastball. Sugar Ray used to be fun, man. That would be a good show. You know what though? When I think of I think that's newer music. I think Bare.
They play that in the grocery store now.
Yeah. When I think Bare Naked Ladies and Sugar Ray and Fastball, I'm thinking, yeah, new rock, baby. That's the hip stuff that the kids listen to. You know? Nope. And how about Vance Joy? Are you familiar with Vance Joy?
I don't know Vance Joy.
Well, I'm glad you know what? I'm glad I'm not the only one, because it's just weird that you start looking this up, because earlier today, I was looking up some of these things. And I'm going, who the hell is that? I haven't a clue who that is. Where did these people come from?
Well,
Vance Joy.
My son, 15 years old, sent me his Spotify playlist, and there wasn't a single artist that I recognized or knew anything about. But the music was not bad at all. Like they did a decent job. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Ticketmaster US. Lainey Wilson. I've heard of Lainey Wilson. I've heard of Chris Stapleton. He's one of my favorites. Dave Matthews Band. I just went to see the Dave Matthews Band not too long ago.
You know, I know all about Dave Matthews. I can say, well, now what do we got? Donny Osmond, Wayne Newton. And those are travel packages if you want to go to Vegas. Yeah, I'm going to go to Vegas. I'm not going to go to the craziest strip bars in America. Bret Michaels. Bret Michaels is another solid one. Yeah, he's going to Vegas there. And Bret Michaels is from Butler, Pennsylvania. And he is really a true Yinzer. I mean, he is a terrible towel waving Steelers fan. You know, baseball with the Buccos. I mean, he's taken batting practice with those guys. He even has one of his later videos out. I forget the name of it, but it even showed videos of him and his buddies partying over at Sandy Lake over in Western Pennsylvania. Conneaut Lake Park, everything. He's a Yinzer, Northeast Ohio guy. Northeast Ohio or Western Pennsylvania guy. And he's Ukrainian or some kind of Polish. His family and my family actually come from like the same basic region of Eastern Europe. And I always say he's my cousin, What the hell? I might as well. Who's going to dispute it?
Nobody.
Yeah. I mean, if I say so, it's because Mumford and Sons, I've heard of Mumford and Sons. I was never really into them,
I don't. Laney's pretty hot.
Laney is hot, and Laney is packing people into concerts. And I get pissed when I see that because I'm sitting there thinking, I got Styx and you got Laney Wilson. Donny Osmond. It's something else. Go, just hit Live Nation Cleveland. Let's see what are some of the other shows that are coming up. And I will comment on those. Okay. April, Lyle Lovett. A lot of people love Lyle Lovett. He's just one of those guys, Americana. He's in his own little thing. Yeah, Metallica coming around. Really? Metallica, yeah. They're doing the Sonic Temple Festival down in Columbus. And they're also doing, they're doing a couple of days in Tampa. And I'm trying, all my family's down there. I'm trying to get down there. Coldplay, they're okay. Coldplay is like one of my newer ones. AC/DC is going to be rocking.
Boom.
Yep. Pat Benatar and Neil Giraldo with the Vindies opening. I'll tell you what, I love Pat Benatar just for the fact that she takes the Vindies along with her. Yes. And you know what? For an older woman to take on a younger woman along on the road and give them a helping hand, there are some women that would be like insecure about that. There really are. I mean, Meatloaf. That's why Meatloaf got into like a fight with Kevin Raleigh from the Michael Stanley Band because Meatloaf didn't want him to have his hot female backup singers on stage because Meatloaf was the hot backup singer guy, but to see like women like that supporting each other, I mean, I think that's really big of Pat Benatar. And her husband, Neil, is originally from Parma. And Myron Grombacher, her original drummer, is from Youngstown. And Neil and Myron, if I got this correct, I mean, some of these stories, if you double check and say this guy got that all screwed up, it's possible, okay? Because these are stories that have been rattling around in my brain for years and that I've heard from different people. But anyway, so Myron Grombacher from Youngstown and Neil Giraldo, who's Pat Benatar's husband, went to audition for Rick Derringer. And they were thinking about going to audition for Michael Stanley. And then Gary Markowski went to audition for Michael Stanley. And those two guys went out and joined up with Rick Derringer. And then next thing you know, Neil says, hey, we got to get out of here, Myron. I found this chick and she is going to be the hottest thing. And, back then that was another thing like, oh, but we're going to join up with a woman. We're going to join up with some chick and a band. We got Rick Derringer, rock and roll hoochie coo, buddy. And they moved over there with Pat Benatar and went on the road with her and became part of her band. Neil ended up marrying her. And to this day, they're still together. And it has that whole Michael Stanley connection. Back up just a little bit here. Let's see. Yeah, Metallica. I've heard of Kendrick Lamar, of course. I think everybody has.
That Metallica, Limp Bizkit, Pantera, Suicidal Tendencies, that's a good band.
Oh yeah, it is. You know what's going to be a cool show? Black Sabbath is doing their final show ever in Birmingham, England, which we talked about earlier. And of course, Ozzy can only do a few songs here and there. He's going to jump up. But like the rest of the people that are performing that day is like this who's who of metal. It's everybody. It's Metallica. It's Slash. I can't even think of all the names. You know, the guy from Disturbed is on there. I mean, the list is a mile long. Even if those guys each get up and play one song, it's going to be one of the craziest farewells of all time. Yeah, Black Sabbath's final show, July 5th, Birmingham, England. There we go. Let's see what they are. Where's the lineup? Here we go. Black Sabbath, Ozzy, Metallica, Slayer, Pantera, Hailstorm, Alice in Chains, Lamb of God, Anthrax, Mastodon, Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins, David Germain from Disturbed, Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses, Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit, Lizzie Hale from Hailstorm, Jakey Lee, Jonathan Davis from Korn, KK Downing from Faith No More, Rudy Sarzo, Sammy Hagar, Slash from Guns N' Roses, Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine, Wolfgang Van Halen. That show is going to be so off the frickin' charts, it ain't even funny. Man, wouldn't you love to go see that one?
Heck yeah.
The final show of Black Sabbath. All right, let's get back to this. AC/DC, Pat Benatar, Japanese Breakfast. Have you ever heard of Japanese Breakfast? Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Ellison Russell. Now, I've heard of Fish. You know what? I saw Fish one time before anybody knew who they were. I went to this big DJ convention they had in New York City, and we were at the Roadhouse in New York City, which was like a famed country bar, and this band Fish is playing there. And I thought they were terrible. But the one thing that I do remember is they played a version of Rocky Top that was just unbelievable. That's all I remembered from Fish was that's that band that played Rocky Top. And I had the coolest Fish shirt of all time. And it was from like 1992, 1993, 1990. And I'm like, I wish I had this shirt today because I would be blowing people away. I don't know what happened to it, but it was a very cool shirt. But back then, nobody knew who Fish were. They were like
the rebellious band, you know, someone who pushed on the status quo.
And then, and then for where they became now, and they're leading the votes for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year too.
Really?
But and I was just sitting there, I'm looking at these guys. I didn't really get them at the time, although I wasn't in the mindset of really. All I remember was, man, those guys that played Rocky Top, that was so good. I couldn't believe the great job they did on Rocky Top. Let's see. Lamarcus Hendricks, Metallica, yeah. Magdalena Bay, I don't know that one. Charlie XCX. I saw something about Charlie XCX recently, and I don't know. Pearl Jam, I definitely know Pearl Jam. Sure. See, Pearl Jam is another one of those bands, to me, in my old man brain, that I think is like a newer band. And Pearl Jam, they're already in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, aren't they? So it's like, when I think, my favorite Pearl Jam story, of course, is we used to have this intern that worked with us back in the day at CD 106, and his name was Mike Laird. God rest his soul. And he ended up, losing his life in a terrible traffic accident. And he was friends with Pearl Jam before anybody knew who Pearl Jam was. And Pearl Jam opened for the Red Hot Chili Peppers in Columbus. And Mike Laird was just this huge fan. And he interviewed Eddie Vedder on this bridge in Columbus. They climbed up on top of this bridge and they do this interview. And, then he passed away. And Eddie Vedder still has a picture of Mike Laird on his desk. And he had, when they played the song Siren in Pittsburgh a few years back, he did this big thing for Mike's family and talked about the whole thing and everything. So that's our connection to Pearl Jam. I like Pearl Jam. I like that new rock. Yeah, what new rock do you like?
Brand new. What those kids are liking.
I like that new rock Pearl Jam. It jams, man. Better Man and Daughter and Elderly Woman Behind the Counter and Jeremy and Even Flow and Boy, we played that stuff when that first come out, man. That was some
Seattle's
good stuff.
rocking, baby.
And then System of a Down. Yeah, I know System of a Down. Five for Fighting. Don't know. Shinedown. Definitely know Shinedown. And they played a lot around here. Shinedown played a lot. They were one of the first bands to play in the Covelli Center. As a matter of fact, I think I talked a little bit about that before. I probably did. They did like an acoustic kind of unplugged show at the Dior, and it was awesome. I mean, they didn't do all their hits, and they did different songs. I remember they did Feeling All Right from Joe Cocker, and there was a lot of acoustic and things like that. That show was awesome, man. Yeah, so Shinedown, I know. Linkin Park, I know. Exodus, not so sure. Beyonce, yeah, I know. But I couldn't tell you a song if they played it on the radio. Post Malone. Where did this guy come from? Post Malone just all of a sudden became him and Jelly Roll together. Him and Jelly Roll right now is like the hottest freaking concert of the summer. You know, it's like, what the hell? You know, Post Malone and Jelly Roll. And not that I hold anything against any of these artists, you know, because you know what my thing is. If you like this music and it makes you happy and you go to these shows and you have a good time and you have the time of your life, you know, then go do it. That's how I look at it. I'm not a music snob in the least bit. I'm not going to go, yeah, Post Malone, he sucks, you know, Jelly Roll, you know. I don't know how long Jelly Roll will be around. I don't know, 10 years from now, you're Jelly Roll, roll, baby, let it roll. But I mean, you know, if you like that kind of music, if that's your thing, then do it. That's why they have it. That's why they go out there, man.
Absolutely.
For you to go have a good time and drink some beers and get a buzz on and hang out with your friends and hear your favorite songs. So, you know, who am I to sit there and tell you, oh, dude, your band suck, you know. You like it, it makes you feel good, and you have a good time, then what's the problem? You know? Billy Idol, yes, I do know Billy Idol and Joan Jett. I know them too. I know Billy and Katy Perry, of course, I think everybody does. Coachella.
What do you think of Coachella, by the way?
You know what? I think a lot of people, the hipsters right now, from what I see, are down on all the festivals because the influencers are taking over. And the influencers on social media are making the concerts about them and not about the music.
Well, if you had a concert where the average ticket price was $10,000, not Rolling Stones, not something like that,
right?
But just for kind of the wealthy, rich people, and they brought a bunch of like headliner bands together. That's really why what the pushback is, because the everyday fan doesn't go to Coachella in the middle of the desert and make a party.
And you know what? I saw a funny thing about Coachella, a little Cliffy Clavin footnote to put on this. It was really called Conchella, like the conch shell, and they had a misprint. And they
really
on all the promotional, everything they did for the promotional stuff for the first show, and it was supposed to be like Conchella, or it was a seashell. It had to do with a seashell, and they all said Coachella, and they said, you know what? Screw it. We're calling it Coachella. In Bonnaroo. Yeah, Bonnaroo. Do you know what Bonnaroo means? No. I gotta look this up. I saw this the other day too. You know, we're talking about these festivals. Bonnaroo is actually like a Cajun saying for like something that's cool or something. That's Bonnaroo. And that's where they come. You know, I thought it was like something. But here, I think it was like, you know, Fats Domino or somebody, you know, come up with the term Bonnaroo, and they use it down on the bayou. Let me double check that. I got to see. All right, Joe Minnow checking in. We did say hi to Joe. Whoops, I got to turn that down and we'll get some feedback. The Hogs checking in.
Nice.
What's up, Hogs?
Hogs, congratulations on your retirement, brother.
Yep. Way to go, Hogs. Oh, Dennis said OAR at the Nautica is the best show this summer, hands down. They're sax players from Liberty in OAR. That's another one of those bands that have been around for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, my sister Lenny's checking in. Hi, Lenny. Frankie Valli is on tour. Yeah, I think that's a robot of Frankie Valli that they bring out there.
It's not the kids that are playing Frankie Valli?
No. Have you ever seen those clips? Did we look at those at one time? When it's and he's like he's just standing there like a robot, and he's kind of moving his mouth, and he's not even saying what the song is, but yet the song sounds like Frankie Valli as a teenager in 1964.
Got to be Wayne Newton eventually.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
And then we have Lenny Kravitz coming up.
Lenny Kravitz. Yeah, we had a winner. We're sending somebody to Vegas to see Lenny Kravitz.
Nice. Keith Urban.
Yeah,
Seether.
Keith Urban. I know all about Keith Urban. You know what? He's an underrated guitar player. But you know what? Keith Urban to me is one of those guys. I do not consider him country. I never considered Keith Urban country at all. And, and I think he's a pop artist. I think if you would have had him 30 years ago, he would have been Bryan Adams, Eddie Money, kind of along those lines.
His bank account says he's country, though.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I've seen him play. I saw him play with John Mayer one time. I'll tell you what, those two jammed.
Heck yeah.
And I mean, well, Keith Urban was on Eric Clapton's Crossroads Festival one time in New York City, and you have to have some kind of chops to get invited to that. Eric Clapton's just not going to invite you if you're some kind of
now,
slouch.
Who is Alana Springsteen? Should I know that name?
I don't know either. I'm not sure.
I'm going to look into it. See if
Chase,
it's
Chase Matthews, Alana Springsteen, and Carly Scott Collins. I haven't a clue.
I see JT on there. That's one I'd want to catch.
Seether. I know Seether. And I do know James Taylor. I went to see James Taylor one time at Blossom Music Center. And the two words that I think that I could describe James Taylor was lovely and beautiful. Everybody had their little tables set up on the lawn, with like a little vase with a flower in it and a little bottle of a lovely Merlot and a little cheese plate. And they were enjoying James Taylor to the max.
No, he's a rebel. He's supposed to be non-charcuterie boards. He's supposed to be beer.
No, he's not. Merlot and a charcuterie board. That's what you need. Oh, man. Okay, so she related to Bruce Springsteen? No, she's from Virginia Beach.
She's cute.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there, but I just don't know them. So see, you know what you're supposed to do? If you don't know them, you're just automatically supposed to say they suck.
Totally. Alana Springsteen
sucks.
Totally
sucks. Yeah, you suck. The Perfume Genius. Are you down with the Perfume Genius?
Don't know him.
How about, The Weeknd? I've heard of The Weeknd. Yeah. Remember when The Weeknd was on the Super Bowl?
Dude.
And people are going, who the hell is
State
The Weeknd?
worshipers?
Coheed and Cambria. I've seen them before. I do know Gladys Knight and Chaka Khan and Patti LaBelle. I would go see that. I used to like Chaka Khan. Remember that? Tell me something good. She used to have that big afro. And yeah, Chaka Khan. That's my girl. Simple Minds. I know Simple Minds. Don't you forget about me. That's got to be one of those 80s. Soft Cell, Modern English, and Simple Minds. Now that would be fun. Now, see, you would think, oh, that's New Wave. And yeah, New Wave from 1980, which is 40 years ago. How did New Wave become 40 years old? Eric Clapton, love him. Brad Paisley. Brad Paisley is down from the Wheeling area. And if you ever go to like a show or a hockey game or something at that arena they have in Wheeling, they have a little special case in there of like him singing the national anthem at places when he was in high school and stuff like that. I like Brad Paisley. He got that song Alcohol, which I think they wrote about me. Alcohol. How's that go? You got me in trouble in high school. Now college, that was a thing or whatever. Na, 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 na.
You connect with that song.
I think I should get some royalties for that because I think he wrote it about me. So yeah, when I see Brad Paisley, Hozier, I've heard of him or whatever they are, but I couldn't tell you their song. Black Keys, I definitely know Black Keys from Akron.
Black Keys.
They jam. I saw them more than one time. Stray Kids, Dominant World Tour. I don't know about that. Maiden, now we're talking. Run for the hills. You gotta love Maiden. Stand in My Boots. I don't know what that is. But yeah. Now, see, that's going to be a big show though, with like Morgan Wallen and Post Malone. I mean, that's going to be a huge show. You know, a lot of people love that. So that sucks. I wouldn't go see that. That
Totally.
sucks.
Get 'em off the
Yeah. Let's see. Wu-Tang. I know Wu-Tang. ODB.
Counting Crows. That looks like a good show.
Yeah, Counting Crows. They're fun. Winona Judd, Weird Al Yankovic. Yeah, I like
Earth,
Winona
Wind, and
Judd.
Fire.
Earth, Wind, and Fire. There you go. I know Earth, Wind, and Fire, baby. That was my high school jams there, man. Shining star for you to see what your life can truly be. Neil Young and Chrome Hearts. I will be at that one. I will definitely be there to see Neil Young. I give Neil Young all my support. Def Leppard, I know who they are. Incubus, yes, I know them. Yeah, Neil Young, this tour, I think he's going to be doing some songs that people know. Neil Young is one of those artists that you really have to look at his set list, you know, before you buy a ticket, because he could come out there and do something so bizarre and off the wall that you would walk out, or other times he could be right on the money. But no matter what he plays, I'm a fan, you know. So I'm definitely a fan of Neil Young. How can you be a friend of his? He's a lefty lunatic.
Get him off the stage.
Get him out of there. That old man. I used to like that song, Heart of Gold, and old man. Not anymore. You know, but guys raised millions for special needs children. It's been part of Farm Aid from day one, helping family farmers, but he's a communist.
Total.
Okay, but I'll be at the show. Keisha, I've heard of Keisha. The Lumineers. Some people like the Lumineers. Oasis. You know what? Oasis was one of those shows that really surprised me. Yeah, you know, I think what happened to me with Oasis when they first come out is there was all that stuff about, they were comparing them to the new Beatles and all that. I think once they got into the whole, these guys are new Beatles, I was like, okay, I'm done. You ain't the new Beatles. Nobody's the new Beatles. If you're even saying that, I'm not interested. And then they always seemed like a couple of jerk offs to me. You know, they were always fighting with each other, and there was always so much turmoil. You know, these guys were always at each other's throats and walking off stage and punching each other. And so, I don't know if it was real. I don't know if it was part of their shtick or whatever, but I wasn't into it, you know. Right. But I went to see Oasis at Blossom, and I was blown away.
They were good.
You know, when they did Wonderwall and all that kind of stuff. And
yeah, my Wonderwall.
Champagne Supernova. Oh, yeah.
I can
Baby, are you going to be the one that saves me? I mean, I'll tell you, they really did put on a good show. Shania Twain. Everybody loves Shania Twain to this day.
So hot.
Yeah.
In her 60s. Love her.
Yep. The Yeahs, they're a darling on Little Steven's Underground Garage, so I know them. Big Time Rush, I've heard of them, not that big of a fan, but, that's me. Yeah. Creed was the surprise last year, and Scott Stapp is going to pack that rib burn-off coming to the Southern Park Mall. Creed last year came out of nowhere, and I remember we got this thing from Star Lake, and they said, please announce to get to Star Lake early. This show is a complete sellout, and it's going to take you a while to get in the place. I'm going, Creed with a complete sellout at Star Lake. And sure enough, man, that last tour they went on, it was just like out of nowhere, Everybody just come out, and it's like, Creed.
They got some shit when they were going. They were
yeah. I remember, the last time they played at the Rib Burn Off, and I was there, and Scott Stapp had problems with alcohol, so no, you couldn't have alcohol within his sight, and there was a lot of weird rules with Scott, but I guess the guy doesn't want to fall off the wagon. Ghosts, they seem a little too far out there for me. Offspring, love Offspring. I'd like to go check them out.
Pretty fly for a white guy.
How could you beat that? So, yeah, these are some of my, I guess this is the summer. That's the whole theme of the show, was the summer concert preview. And maybe some of these people that you like to see, scale down a little bit. Yeah, My Chemical Romance, the Pixies, Garbage. That's going to be something interesting. Father John Misty. Familiar? Know him?
No.
Although I should, because he's playing with Lucinda Williams, so he must be some kind of a blues guy or roots music. Okay, Pantera I know, Beck I know, Lady Gaga I know, Toad the Wet Sprocket I know. That's some of that new music.
The kids.
Melissa Etheridge, she's playing at Packard Music Hall right now as we speak. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. That might be something to go see just because. Stevie Nicks coming around. I do know her. Death Cab for Cutie, My Morning Jacket. Yeah. Vance Joy, I'm not too sure. Blink 182, I know them. Breaking Benjamin, 3 Days Grace. That'll be fun. Then we're into September already. Wow. Garbage, Waterboys, Sparks. Sparks are still around. Do you remember Sparks at all?
Not at all.
And they had the goofy looking guy that still kind of had like a Hitler mustache.
Really?
And he flicked his hair down, and they were just like a weird. I think I don't think he was trying to be Hitler. I think he was trying to be like a Charlie Chaplin. And so that's what's happening. And some of the other shows, Blossom, they got Styx doing the Grand Illusion album in its entirety, along with Kevin Cronin from REO Speedwagon and Dawn Felder. I think that'll be a fun night. Doobie Brothers and the Coral Reefer Band. That'll be another one of those shows that just to hear a bunch of hits from some great musicians. I think some people put too much into some of these shows. You know what I mean? I think they look and go, oh, that's really a tribute band, or that's not the real guy. And I mean, sometimes though, I do think that it crosses the line where it's just so bad that you sit there and go, do you really expect us to believe that? Like the Guess Who had nobody. And I think it was like the drummer, and he got the name of the band legally because of some legal loophole. Somebody forgot to fill out a form or something. And if that's how, but there was something along those lines where all of a sudden this guy just got the name. And I mean, come on, if it's not Burton Cummings and Randy Bachman, it is definitely not the Guess Who.
Right.
And when you have like 30-year-old guitar players with hair down to their ass, and the guy's wearing an AC/DC t-shirt, and the other dude's tatted and pierced out, and he's, tilting his head back, and, but, I think once again, it gets back to the point of, does it make you feel good? Do you feel like it's worth your money and your time? And are you going to go there and have a good time? Are the songs going to bring back some great memories?
That's it.
And usually when all these bands come out, whether, that are touring, like Skynyrd, for instance. Skynyrd, there isn't one original guy in the band. Okay. But there's something about the way they present it that you don't feel like it's, I think it's not the original band. Okay. The original band has been gone since 75. And some people are like, so what are you supposed to do? You're just never supposed to listen to this music again live because the guys that sang it the first time is dead. That's why I don't know. But I think there is a fine line between a tribute band and somebody that's saying that there's something.
Yeah. Like
look at Foreigner. How long is Foreigner gone without the original members?
But if any of those bands decide to hang it up, like who's to replace them in the rock scene? Like,
right.
They almost
so then you got to see a tribute band.
Absolutely.
A lot of these guys are keeping it going, but then I don't know. One that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit was Blood, Sweat and Tears. Blood, Sweat and Tears had nobody with no connection. And their thing is, well, we're like the New York Yankees. It's a franchise. Okay. You go see the New York Yankees today. Are you going to go see Babe Ruth? Babe Ruth going to be there? Is Mickey Mantle going to be there? No. And we're the same way, but I don't know. I guess, maybe because I'm on the radio and in the music business, some people think, oh, you got to be a purist, man. You can't stand for that. But my whole thing goes back to, do you like it? Does that song bring back some great memories to you? If you go see Warrant and Firehouse and they play Cherry Pie and it makes you think some better days, and they play Heaven and that's the song you dance to.
And that's the thing. Like if some guy dies in a plane crash and they replace the drummer because of that, is it still the same band?
I mean, look at AC/DC. Bon Scott passed away, and they went on to bigger success.
Yep, exactly.
You know, with Brian Johnson. So it's an individual choice. That's how I look at it. And I don't think there's a wrong answer. You know, if you're that much of a purist and you're that much of a diehard, and you're like, oh, if it's not so and so singing, I ain't going.
Right. Well, even Ty Longley, he was an amazing talent. Yeah. Fit right into that brand, like it's nobody's business.
Yeah. I mean, now Great White, that's a good example of a band that, you know, had some original members mixed in, and you know, and so that's how I look at that whole thing. You know, it's a individual choice, and there is no wrong answer.
If it makes you happy,
you know what? If it's not something that you like, well, then scroll by.
That's right.
You know, do you have to sit there? I mean, sometimes I think that's one of those arguments on Facebook that gets old after a while. You know, I mean, there are some things I think on Facebook that the people comment on. It's just like, okay, that's old. You just want to.
They're trolling you, man. They're trying to suck you in.
You just want to yawn.
Yeah.
You know, okay, yeah, we know this ain't the guy, and we know. Okay, so either you like it or you don't. You know, you like it or you don't.
That's right. Hoax likes Joan Jett.
Oh, yeah. Joan Jett. Yeah, U2, man. That's another one. U2. See, you know what? Some of these bands, though, with the advent of social media, started getting haters and critics. If you say, name a band that sucks, you will get Bruce Springsteen and U2 a mile long because it's cool to not like them.
You're right.
You know, U2, I'll tell you what, some of the best shows I've ever seen were from U2. I mean, like, you know, when I see people say, oh, they suck or whatever, it's like, okay, you have just told me that you really don't know anything about music. If you have ever seen U2 live, I mean, they are upper echelon with the special effects, with everything. U2 is way up there.
They have hundreds of songs.
Yeah.
They were premiered in the Las Vegas Sphere.
Oh, yeah. Which I still want to get to. Oh, I got to get to the Sphere. You know, the Sphere's having a hard time, though, because they don't have the bands to do this. If you're not familiar with the Las Vegas Sphere, they built this big round sphere. I guess a round sphere is a little redundant because I think all spheres are round.
I get what you're saying now.
You know. So anyways, it's this huge sphere, and they have concerts in there, and the whole thing becomes an interactive screen, and it's huge, and you are just engulfed by the special effects. You just get sucked in. When the Eagles did Hotel California, you checked into the Hotel California. Yes. The Grateful Dead, you know, Dead and Company. Some people, that's another one. Oh, Dead and Company, that's bullshit. They're, you know, not the Dead. Jerry ain't there. Screw that. I'm not going. But it keeps a vibe, and I think, you know, Dead and Company, I think that's one of them bands that really does keep it alive.
Yep.
You know what? If it hits you that you think it's good enough, and it's not a cover band, if you can feel it. If you feel that it's more than a cover band, you could tell.
That's right.
Like the Dead and Company. Come on, man. You know.
By the way, U2, 442 songs over their career.
Amazing.
Don't dismiss those suckers.
No, you know way. What? I got Bono's autograph. I'm not like an autograph hound, but I'm in New York City. I went to see them in New York City, and some guy ripped me off for a ticket too. I thought I bought 2 tickets, and the guy had a fake in there and took off before I could catch him. So, you know, I learned my lesson on that one.
New York's a rough place, man.
But you know what? In my brain, I had this thing already. I had this vision in my brain. I was like, I'm going to go there, and somebody's going to come up, and I'm going to buy 2 tickets. They're going to have them at a reasonable price right there out front, and I'm going to buy it. I'm going to go in. Sure enough, that guy come up, and one was real and one was a fake. So I was out a couple $100 on that one. But the show was still awesome, you know.
Your friend got to look from the parking lot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's all. And so then, you know, so in the middle of the afternoon, we get off the subway, we go up there, we're walking by Madison Square Garden, and there's a whole line of people out there. I go, oh, wow. I said, I think somebody's over there signing autographs. So I'm thinking, Okay, it's not going to be Bono, right? Is Bono going to be out on a street corner in New York City in front of Madison Square Garden signing autographs?
Never.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I get up there and I'm going, holy shit, it's Bono. And I mean, and he started like one end of the block and he's going all the way down. And he's coming down. And I remember there was this guy that had this painting of him. And Bono kept yelling at him. He says, get that fucking picture away from me. I told you a million times, I'm not signing that. You know, and people are getting autographs and this guy keeps, and he's going, get it away. Get it out of here. I'm not signing that picture. I told you no a million times. I'm not signing it. And so then he's walking down, and then there was like a little, you know, gate where you pull into Madison Square Garden, you know, with the, you know, gate and a little guard shack and that sort of stuff. And I thought the minute he gets to that gate, he's going to stop. But I was on the other side, you know, just because of the crowd of people down there. So I get down there and I'm standing there and going, there is no way in the world he's going to come past that gate. He's going to hit that gate. Kept on going. Got an autograph of Bono on a New York City travel guide in Portuguese. It was just laying there and I picked it up and I said, yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, you too, man. They're you know, they're no slouches. They're the real deal.
442 songs.
442 songs. And we'll see what their total album sales are. How many albums have U2 sold worldwide in their career? Total album sales. 150 to 170 million albums worldwide. Okay, see, here's the thing. When I see people say that, 175 million records worldwide. Worldwide. They're the 22nd highest selling music artist in the U.S. They have 8 albums that reached #1 in the U.S., the third most of any group.
Get him off the stage.
Yeah, Bono, he's a, you know. But that tells you something. Then somebody will say, well, New Kids on the Block sold that many. Well, you know, my thing with the New Kids on the Block is too, if that made you happy, you know, doesn't Sheryl Crow have that song? If it makes you happy, you know, if all kind of little girls had a great time. All right, here we go. 40 million copies or more. These are albums. These are people that sold 40 million copies or more. Oh, these are albums that have sold 40 million copies or more. Michael Jackson, Thriller, AC/DC, Back in Black, Whitney Houston, The Bodyguard, Dark Side of the Moon, Eagles' Greatest Hits, Eagles Hotel California, Shania Twain, Come Over, Fleetwood Mac, Rumors, Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell, and Bee Gees, Saturday Night Fever. That was various artists. 40 million copies. Now here we go, 39 to 30. Led Zeppelin 4, Michael Jackson, Bad. Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill. That was just one of those albums. Dirty Dancing, Celine Dion, Falling for You, Michael Jackson, Dangerous, Adele, 21.
Wow, Adele.
Wow, the Beatles, Metallica, Celine Dion, Bob Marley and the Wailers, Nirvana, Guns N' Roses, Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA, second biggest selling album of the 80s. Dire Straits, Brothers in Arms. That album there to me just says 1980. It just screams 1980. Brothers in Arms from Dire Straits, Money for Nothing, The Walk of Life. You could not go anywhere without hearing The Walk of Life and So Far Away from Me. Or So Far Away from You.
And I'm telling you, album sales in the 80s were way more impressive than album sales anywhere else.
Yeah, yeah. Pink Floyd, The Wall, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and the Beatles, Abbey Road. So, you know,
there you go.
That's where you go. So, well, what do you think? Oh, and Santana, Supernatural. That album just come out of nowhere with Smooth and Maria, and boy, he put together a
heck yeah.
That was just clever. One of those albums that was really good. All right, Joe, what do you think? We finish it up. That's our kind of summer concert preview. Some of the bands that are out there, yeah, you know. And what I say is, go see whoever you like.
Makes you happy.
You know what?
That is the Fred philosophy.
Right. If it makes you happy and you're going to have a good time and it's going to take you to a happy place and that's your jam, then good. That's the whole idea of music. That's why it's all different, because everybody else, you know, what I like, you don't have to like. And, you know, if you don't like what I don't like, or if you don't like what I like, I'm not going to be pissed. You know, it's just like,
Get off the stage, you bum.
Get out of here. That guy
Get out of here.
I'd throw his record album. I didn't have a CD. I'd smash it with a hammer. I'd throw it in the river. Oh man, that guy makes me want to puke. You know, it's like, okay, it's only music, you know. But you know, that's the beauty of music, though. You know, it does invoke these passions in people. Does. You know, it makes you passionate about something. You know, and if you are that passionate that like, that ain't the real band, that ain't my dude, you know, well,
that's the point of music right there.
But then you got to think, if you look back, you know, I don't think Frank Sinatra ever wrote one song in his career. You know, what song did Frank Sinatra ever write? He never wrote a single song.
But he was so smooth.
Elvis didn't write a lot of his songs, you know. You know, how many songs did Elvis write? Well, Elvis had them guys, yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Them guys, he's on my list too. He doesn't even write his own song, and he's out there singing about it. Yeah, it makes you happy.
Can't be that bad.
That's right. There we go. All right, Joe, I'm going to finish this off. You know what? I was lollygagging here. I was talking to.
That was a lot of whiskey, man. I overdid it for you. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Well, then I'm going to finish this. It might take a second here. Do we keep the show going for a couple minutes, or do we just end it night?
Your call, your show.
My call, my show. I'm trying to think of anything else that I didn't cover today. Pretty much the summer concert season is what I wanted to look at.
We hit a lot of artists.
You know what? Oh, here's one that really had me thinking about that. I did want to talk a little bit about 420 Day, but that's kind of over. The most polite way to tell somebody F you. Number one on the list, blow them a kiss instead of flipping them the bird.
Oh, yeah. That'll do it. That'll do it.
That's one that'll get them. Have the day you deserve, Joe.
Oh, bless your heart.
Yeah, bless your heart. Noted. You too sucks. Noted. Just smile. Be that as it may.
Be that.
I think you too sucks. Well, be that as it may.
That's yep, a good one. That's good. Passive aggressive. I love it.
How amazing are you? I wouldn't go see that band. That band's nothing but a piece of shit tribute band. How amazing are you? Yeah, so those are some good ones. What got me thinking in this direction? But you see the guy that burnt down 3 houses because he was burning dildos in his backyard.
I didn't hear that one.
Some guy in New York City. He was doing something. They said he was trying to get the DNA off of these vibrators and stuff. And he took them out in his backyard and caught them on fire. And he burned down the whole block.
Dang. There's a tale in here somewhere.
Yeah. I just don't know. You know, I mean, was he thinking that his wife was going to do DNA testing on them or what? I don't know. But yeah, and then, you know what though? You got to wonder, why would he be trying to get that? Yeah, here it is. Okay, a man admitted to starting a 3-alarm fire which damaged 3 homes after intentionally setting fire to a couple of sex toys. Burned down the block. Dude,
like, that's Florida type of stuff right there.
I know. Now, Florida man's got to step up.
He does.
That's just issuing a challenge.
That's
you know what? I don't think I have this here. Let me look one more time, because this was Time Magazine or People Magazine, Time Magazine or Newsweek. Their list of, here it is. Their list of the 100 most influential people in the world. And I am looking at this list and I'm going.
Did you guess anybody on the list?
Oh yeah. I mean, okay. So real quick, and I'll finish my bourbon and then we'll head on down the road. All right. Time Magazine's 100 most influential people. Let's see. Ed Sheeran.
I wouldn't have given him top prize.
Kristen Bell.
Nope.
Demi Moore.
Nope.
Trump. Well, you got to give Trump just because of
top 5. Yeah. I'll give him 5th.
He's in the mix.
He's in
there every day. You can't get away from him. All right. Artists were Ed Sheeran, Scarlett Johansson, Kristen
She's hot,
Bell.
so I'll give her 10.
That's why I put her on the list too. I was like, yeah. You got to have her on there. Adam Scott, Kristen Wiig. I don't even know who that is.
Saturday Night Live comic.
Oh, okay. Hosier again.
No, I wouldn't do that.
And Diego Luna, star of the Star Wars series Andor.
Don't know her.
And or it might be a him.
Might be a him.
And Daniel D. Kim from Lost.
Nope.
You familiar with that? Me either. These are the 100 most influential people.
I need you to do me a favor.
All right.
I need you to give me what you think the top 5 most influential persons are of 2024.
Of 2024,
Yeah.
last year. Well,
you got to do justice. That was not good, so you got to do a better one.
Well, I mean, just because, Trump and Biden both have to be on there because they both,
heard their name 5,000 times a month.
Yeah, from last year. Who else was always in the news last year? Elon Musk, you would probably have to put him on there,
right?
Good, bad, indifferent, because he's on there every day.
Right.
Okay, so let's think of the world of, well, I see, I couldn't even say the world of acting because I don't know too many actors. And
no standouts. Like there wasn't anybody that like rose to the top where you could recognize their name.
Yeah, like, see, that's a hard question for me because I'm really not that down with the pop culture. All
right. Well, let me give you some categories, and you pick somebody that floats to the top of it in each one of these categories.
Okay.
So we already said like actors, don't really know any.
Yeah.
What about musicians?
Musicians from last year. I think you always have Bruce Springsteen on the top because he still gets under the the conservative skin and everything. So you just mentioned his name, and it triggers an automatic response,
right?
Whether you like him or you hate him. So that might be one of my criteria is, does it trigger a response?
Either way.
Either fine. Way. Right.
Yep.
Right.
Love or hate.
Love or hate. That's another one, some people will post on there. What a washed up has been. The guy is a self-made billionaire. Okay. He is still selling out concerts around the globe. So you can't sit there and say the guy's a loser. There's something there. You might not get it. It might not be your cup of tea, but there's something there. Music, I'm sure. Well, I don't know if they're influential, but Kanye and that whole crew, they're still out there.
Who was the dude that did the Super Bowl?
Oh, we were just talking about him.
What the heck is his name?
Oh,
Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah. Okay, you probably have to have him up there, right? People know who that is. Music, maybe you would have, for people triggering a response, Neil Young.
Okay.
Roger Waters from Pink Floyd. He's pro-Palestinian all the way and very outspoken on that. Zelensky from Ukraine.
Yes. Right.
I think you would have to have him on there.
World leaders, Bibi and also Zelensky. Those are the two names mentioned most.
Yeah.
What about athletes?
Athletes, let's see. Who was big last year? Patrick Mahan. Jalen Hurts, since he was the winner of the Super Bowl. Let's see. Baseball, is there who was the guy that signed the biggest contract? Whoever signed the biggest contract, Asante or whatever his name is, I'm having a little trouble thinking because I got close to the whiskey glass.
So pop culture.
Alex Ovechkin had to be among the top.
Okay.
I would say, LeBron James is always on there, especially not only for his athletics. He's a controversial figure. People love him. People hate him. People say he's a liberal. People say, hey,
but still they say his name all year long.
I'm thinking about people whose names just pop into your mind as automatically.
All right. So pop culture, people who became famous only through the pop culture.
Well, the Kardashians, of course.
What about Hawk Tuah?
Hawk
totally
Tuah lady. Okay, so that might be more influencers or viral.
Yes, Hawk Tuah was there
over the year. Let's see who else was on there. A while back it would have been who are the two goofs with the tattoos all over their face? The Island Boys or something. Remember them two idiots that were just tearing it up,
right? All right. How about comedians?
Bill Burr, I think.
Yes,
Bill Maher is in the mix right now.
Heck yeah.
Joe Rogan. You got to have Joe Rogan in there as being influential. Bill Maher. That's another one. A lot of people were pissed because he went to talk to Trump, but I kind of think, okay, he went and talked to him though. You know what I mean? He's still hammering the guy and stuff, but at least he went and talked to him. I mean, even like when Trump went to talk to Little Rocket Man, I still thought that it was like, well, at least he went there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And some people are going, oh, the narcissist fooled you because, they always put a good foot forward there. Of course he's going to. What do you think you're going to do? He's going to try to win you over. He's not going to go there and be a total asshole, I mean, and then people get all bent out of shape. I still think that the fact that the guy went there and talked to him,
says something.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I went there and saw it for myself. Okay. And then that's all he said. He goes, here's what I saw. And he kind of just broke it down as his encounter with President Trump on this such and such a day.
Yep.
And the next day he's still telling jokes and hammering away and going at it. I forget what he was talking about today, but it was like, okay, obviously this, and then of course you read the comments and it's like, I'm done with you.
Get him off the stage.
So yeah, I would have Bill Maher, and who did I just say?
Joe Rogan, Bill Burr, Bill Maher.
Bill Maher. Right. Right.
All right. Yeah. So you said Elon Musk. What about any other entrepreneurs that make the list?
Entrepreneurs. I think all those guys are still in the mix. Bezos and.
Zuckerberg.
Yeah, Zuckerberg, all them guys. They're, Warren Buffett, I think, is still in the mix. All those guys, I think, are all influential. I don't know too many of the newer ones, but it's just, you know what? And I'm just saying these are just off the top of my head. So I think that's a good thing, though. If you could just fire these off the top of your head, that means they're influential. When you look at the list,
that list was not that.
You look at some of them things. Okay, some people said Lauren Michaels for Saturday Night Live, but is that a household name?
No.
If you went down, I would think to be influential, you should be a household name. That the minute I say your name, people go, that dude.
Yep.
You shouldn't
controversy
have to think about
of some kind.
Now, somebody said Serena Williams. Do you think she was that influential? Or
not over the course of the year? She had some great the matches, but
now what about some of the different TV people? Rachel Maddow, Megyn Kelly, or some of those? You put them on the list. Somebody.
If you heard their name 2,000 times, I would put them on the list.
Yeah, Sean Hannity. You put Sean Hannity on there.
All right. What about the biggest villains of the last year? Who do you think got reviled over the last year?
Oh, Elon Musk, number one, is on the top of the list. RFK Jr.
Oh, he got blasted. Totally blasted.
I would have him on the list.
Putin's on the list.
Yeah, Putin's on the list. I'm trying to think of, let's see, who else was just like, you always got to put Little Rocket Man on the list. Although he's been laying low. You haven't really been hearing too much.
Yeah, he's due though. He is due to come out.
He wants to jump in and get in on the fray here with the tariff. Well, we don't really trade with them, so I don't think the tariffs even matter, but yeah, he's about due. Or, Hamas. If you just had a group, Hamas, Netanyahu, or whatever, some of them guys, I think those should be all in there. Okay, here we go. The top culture villains.
These are all like movie and music.
Oh, yeah. I want those. Real people. Newsmakers, yeah. I think
no, I'm not accepting your
no. Yeah, this is movie villains. Nah. Or just put top newsmakers 2024. You got all these other people out there too that are just
this sucks. Like, why aren't they ranking real people?
Wait, back up at the top there. I think there was a real life villain. One more. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Nah. Just put top newsmakers 2024 and just see who's on that list. Okay, here we go. Oh, what we needed to do? We needed to ask your little AI friend.
Dude,
that's what we needed to do.
I'm on it.
Yeah. A lot of these guys on that list, I don't even know. I'm too out of touch. I'm just in touch with myself. That's all. And me and Michael Jackson. That's always got me in trouble being in touch with myself in the wrong places.
Sounds like your inner jukebox is stuck on the king of pop.
No.
What the heck? Why are you being so sassy?
Who were the most influential people of 2024?
I'm not sure which topic or category you're referring to regarding the most influential. Could you clarify what you mean? For example, are you asking about influential people, brands, trends, or something else?
People.
In the meantime,
Let's go, people.
All right, I'll dive in, but I'm still a bit unclear on the context of most influential.
Yeah, give us
Since
something.
you're pushing to go deeper, I'll assume you're asking about the most influential figures or trends shaping conversations right now.
Yes.
And I'll leave.
Let's see here.
Got it. You're looking for the most influential figures and trends right now. Based on what's buzzing, here's the pulse. Influential figures making waves include innovators like Elon Musk, who's driving conversations around tech and policy, and cultural icons like Serena Williams, celebrated for her impact in sports and advocacy.
Wow.
Emerging voices like tech YouTubers and global activists are also shaping how we think about products and social change. As for trends, AI advancements are front and center, with tools transforming industries from healthcare to entertainment. Social media platforms, especially short-form video, are dominating how Gen Z and millennials consume content, outpacing traditional media. Sustainability is another big one. Climate-focused initiatives are gaining traction globally. If you want me to zoom in on a specific person, trend, or region, just say the word.
You know what? I'm going to finish my bourbon and go home. How about that?
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, all right. Cheers. Yeah, that got too far off track. You lost me. Sorry about that. Let me just enjoy that burn for a second.
Tell us about the most influential people.
All right, you masochistic fuck. You want to talk influential people? Let's rip this shit open and shove some truth up your ass like a spiked dildo. Influencing just about who's got the most followers or the loudest TED Talk. It's about who's been bending the world over and fucking it raw. For better or worse. Here's my unhinged, ball-besting take on the most influential cockroaches crawling through history and today's shit show.
I love this woman.
First off, Elon Musk. Yeah, I'm starting with that galaxy brain meme lord lunatic. This dude's out here launching rockets, building murder tunnels, and tweeting like a coked up 4chan troll. He's got half the planet jerking off to his Tesla stock, while the other half screaming he's going to enslave us with Neuralink. Influential? Fuck yes. He's the guy who made electric cars sexy, colonized Mars in his wet dreams, and turned Twitter into a digital Thunderdome. You either want to suck his dick or stab him with a rusty spoon. Zero in between. Then there's Jesus Christ, because duh. Whether you're chugging communion wine or just vibing with the vibes, this carpenter turned deity's been running the game for 2 millennia. His fan clubs built empires, burned witches, and started wars over who loves him more. Half the world's holidays are his birthday party, and his book's been translated into every language except Klingon. You think your influencers got clout? JC's got cathedrals and Kanye singing his praises. Let's throw in Beyonce, because that queen's ass is a goddamn geopolitical force. She drops an album and the economy shifts. She sings about lemonade, and suddenly every fucker's got a side hustle selling citrus.
That's what
Her
I was
influence
thinking.
isn't just cultural. It's a fucking mind control spell. She's
My
got the
thoughts
Bayhive
exactly.
ready to sting anyone who blinks wrong. And she's redefined what it means to be a powerhouse while looking like she could bench press your soul. Don't sleep on Karl Marx, that bearded commie bastard. His manifesto has been the blueprint for every revolution that's had workers waving hammers and
Amazing.
sickles. Love him
That's
or
what I
hate
was
him,
thinking.
he's the reason your boss pretends
Why
to care
didn't we
about
just have
workers'
the
rights.
AI do the show to
Dale,
begin with?
His ideas are like herpes. Once they're in the system, they never fucking leave, flaring up every time some college kid reads Capitol and decides to burn a bank. And let's not forget that orange fuck, Donald Trump. Say what you want, but this tangerine tyrant's got the world by the balls. He turned politics into a reality show, made Twitter his personal toilet, and got half of America saluting his comb-over like it's the second coming. He's influential because he proved you don't need brains or class to run the game. Just a loud mouth and a knack for pissing everyone off. His MAGA cult would probably jerk off to his tax returns if he asked.
Oh, man.
But here's the real tea.
And remember,
Influence
those
is a
comments
conflict.
are those
And these
coming
words
from
are just-
Elon Musk's AI project right there, just so you know. Oh, That is crazy. Explain what that is, because I don't want people to sit there and go, hey, them guys are on there. You know.
So Grok is a large language model,
Grok,
and
right.
it is on a mode called unhinged. And it will swear at you. It will be condescending. It will totally rip out your soul if you ask it the right questions.
There you go. So that's what that's all about. Boy, what a good time. Another good time here, Joe. So thanks for having me down here at Youngstown Studio. I will catch everybody tomorrow, 3:00 on Y103. And what more can I say? Next week, hopefully we're going to have a guest, so you don't have to sit here and just listen to me drink bourbon and try to pull something out of my ass. And then we put on the AI, and then the AI is more entertaining than anything I could have come up with. So, you know, do you really need announcers and show hosts when you got AI to come across with
the
big
orange
stuff?
Cheeto.
Holy cow. That was something.
That
man.
was ridiculous.
That was great. Oh, and then the Pope passed away today, too.
I saw that,
Yeah.
yeah.
What about that before we leave? J.D. Vanson goes and visits the Pope, and then the guy
Next
drops
day,
dead.
done. Conspiracy? I don't
I
know.
I think Trump wants to appoint the next Pope. As a matter of fact, every cardinal has to put down the last 5 Bible verses they read and send it to Elon Musk by midnight tonight.
Interesting. Nice.
But that was wild, man. That was crazy.
Timing wise,
And on
man.
Easter weekend on top of it
Yep.
all. Wow. Crazy stuff there. Boy, there's some conspiracy theories you could get rolling on that one. That's for sure.
But now we get to see the smoke billowing out of the towers as they elect a new pope. That's what's next.
Yep. Sounds good. All right. Thanks, Joe. I will catch you next week. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in and playing with us here this evening. And we will see you next Monday right here from Youngstown Studios in beautiful Youngstown, Ohio.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget